his good breeding, asked him, "Dost thou remember any verses in praise of the mole on the cheek?" He answered, "I do," and began reciting, "When I think of my love and our parting smart, my groans go forth and my tears upstart. Here's a mole that reminds me in color and charms. Oh, the black, oh, the eye and the grain of the heart." The king admired and praised the two couplets and said to him, quote something else, "Allah bless thy sire, and may thy tongue never tire." So he began, "That cheek mole spot, they evened with a grain of musk, nor did they hear the simile strain. Nay, marvel at the face comprising all beauty, nor falling short by a single grain." The king shook with pleasure and said to him, "Say more." "Allah bless thy days." So he began, "O you whose mole on cheek enthroned recalls a dot of musk upon a stone of ruby, grant me your favors. Be not stone at heart, core of my heart, whose only sustenance you be." Quoth the king, "Fair comparison, O Hassan. Thou hast spoken excellently well, and hast proved thyself accomplished in every accomplishment. Now explain to me how many meanings be there in the Arabic language." For the word mole, he replied, "Allah keep the king 57, and some by tradition say 50. Said the Sultan, "Thou sayest sooth," presently adding, "Hast thou knowledge as to the points of excellence and beauty?" "Yes," answered Badir al-Din Hasan. "Beauty consisteth in brightness of face, clearness of complexion, shapeliness of nose, gentleness of eyes, sweetness of mouth, cleverness of speech, slenderness of shape, and seemliness of all attributes. But the height of beauty is in the hair, and indeed, someone hath brought together all these items in his verse, and it is this: Say thou to skin be soft, to face be fair, and gaze, nor shall they blame howso thou stare. Fine nose in beauty's list is high esteemed, nor less an eye full bright and debonair. Eke did they well to laud the lovely lips, which even the sleep of me will never spare. A winning tongue, a stature tall and straight, a seemly union of gifts rarest rare. But beauty's height in the hair one views it. So hear my strain, and with some few excuse it." The Sultan was captivated by his converse, and regarding him as a friend asked, "What meaning is there in the new Shura is foxier than the fox?" And he answered, "Know, O king, whom Almighty Allah keep, that the Shura was wont during the days of the plague to make a visitation to Al-Najaf, and whenever he stood up to pray there came a fox which would plant himself facing down, and which by mimicking his movements distracted him from his devotions. Now when this became longsome to him one day, he doffed his shirt, and set it upon a cane, and shook out the sleeves. Then placing his turban on the top, and girding its middle with the as a Mameluke should sit before his master. When the Sultan had thus assured himself of his courtly breeding and bearing, and his knowledge of the liberal arts, he joyed with exceeding joy, and invested him with a splendid robe of honor, and promoted him to an office whereby he might better his condition. Then Badr al-Din Hasan arose, and kissing the ground before the king, wished him continuance of glory, and asked leave to retire with his uncle the Wazir Shams al-Din. The Sultan gave him leave, and he issued forth, and the two returned home where food was set before them, and they ate what Allah had given them. After finishing his meal, Hassan repaired to the sitting chamber of his wife, the Lady of Beauty, and told her what had passed between him and the Sultan, whereupon quoth she, "He could not fail to make thee a cup companion, and give thee in excess, and load thee with favors and bounties. So shalt thou, by Allah's blessing, to spread like the greater light the rays of thy perfection wherever thou be, on shore or on sea." So he to her, "I purpose to recite an ode in his praise, that he may redouble in affection for me." "Thou art right in thine intent," she answered. "So gather thy wits together, and weigh thy words, and I shall surely see my husband favored with his highest favor." Thereupon Hassan shut himself up and composed these couplets on a solid base, and abounding in inner grace, and copies them out in a handwriting of the nicest taste. They are as follows: "Mine is a chief who reached a most hot estate, treading the pathways of the good and great. His justice makes all regions safe and sure, and against froward foes bars every gate. Bold lion, hero, saint, even if you call, seraph or sovereign, he with all may rate. The poor suppliant rich from him returns. All words to praise him were inadequate. He to the day of peace as saffron morn, and murky night and furious warfare's bait. Beneath his gifts are necks, and by his deeds, as king of freeborn souls he joys his state. Allah increase for us his term of years, and from his lot avert all risks and fears." When he had finished transcribing the lines, he dispatched them, in charge of one of his uncle's slaves, to the Sultan, who perused them, and his fancy was pleased. So he read them to those present, and all praised them with the highest praise. Thereupon he sent for the writer to his sitting chamber, and said to him, "Thou art from this day forth my boon companion, and I appoint thee a monthly solde of 1,000 dirhams over and above that I bestow on thee aforetime." So Hassan rose, and kissing the ground before the king several times, prayed for the continuance of his greatness and glory, and length of life and strength. Thus Badr al-Din Hasan the Basrite waxed higher in honor, and his fame flew forth to many regions, and he abode in all comfort and solace and delight of life with his uncle and his own folk till death overtook him. When the Caliph Harun al-Rashid heard this story from the mouth of his Wazir, Jafar the Barmecide, he marveled much and said, "It behooves that these stories be written in letters of liquid gold." Then he set the slave at liberty, and assigned to the youth who had slain his wife such a monthly stipend as sufficed to make his life easy. He also gave him a concubine from amongst his own slave girls, and the young man became one of his cup companions. this story, continued Shahrazad,